The alien fleet has surrounded Earth's last warship, confident in their overwhelming power. The human ship, damaged but still functional, prepares to face the inevitable destruction. But as the alien forces close in, the unexpected happens. Earth's warship activates a weapon that disables the stars themselves, sending the entire fleet into a blind panic. In the final moments before their destruction, the aliens realize the terrifying truth. They've underestimated humanity. The alien fleet encircled the human warship with the cold precision of a predator cornering its prey. Vex watched from the bridge of his flagship, his arms crossed, the steady hum of his ship's systems vibrating under his boots. His gaze never wavered from the tiny human vessel, a speck in the vast expanse of space, its hull marred by battle scars and years of wear. Yet despite its battered appearance, there was something about it, a defiance in the way it held its position, unwilling to flee, unwilling to surrender. "Bring the fleet in closer," Vex ordered, his voice flat, betraying no emotion. His officers moved to comply, their fingers racing across controls. "We finish this now. No more delays." He could feel the weight of his own arrogance, but even so, he wasn't wrong. The human warship had no defenses left, no escape route. There was nothing it could do to prevent its inevitable destruction. It was only a matter of time before it crumbled under the might of his armada. And yet, as the ships moved in closer, Vex could not shake the growing sense of unease that twisted in his gut. The humans had shown too much unpredictability in their behavior. Their resolve was unsettling. "We're close enough, Commander," Vex, his second-in-command, said, her voice carrying the usual assurance, but even she seemed unsettled. "Should we fire?" Vex hesitated. "No, wait. Let them think they have a chance. Let's savor this." The alien fleet closed in, their weapons trained on the human warship. The human ship, battered and seemingly broken, still had its engines firing. Weakly, its shields flickering in and out of existence, there was a cold, chilling silence as the two forces prepared to collide. Then, with an almost tragic sense of finality, the human warship broadcasted a single transmission, its last defiant message. "This is Captain Lyle of the UWS Liberty. You may destroy our ship, but you will never take our will." Vex scoffed, a cruel smile crossing his face. "Their will. They think their words can save them." He glanced over at Vex, who gave him a solemn nod. "Firing in 5, 4... The countdown echoed through the bridge, each number a beat in the cold rhythm of war. The alien ship's weapons powered up, deadly energy swirling in their cannons. But just as the countdown hit 1, the human warship did something Vex hadn't expected. It moved. With a sickening screech of metal and a burst of light, it powered up its last remaining systems. Its engines flared, and in a move that seemed impossible for a ship so damaged, it surged forward, charging directly toward the center of the alien fleet. Vex's eyes widened. "What are they—" Before he could finish his sentence, the entire battlefield was plunged into complete and utter darkness. The stars surrounding them, once shimmering beacons of light, flickered and vanished. The vast expanse of the galaxy, the brilliant endless space, was now a hollow, empty void. A low hum reverberated through the bridge of Vex's ship, and his officers scrambled in panic. "What's happening?" Vex shouted, her voice tinged with shock. "Our systems are failing. The stars—" The lights in Vex's ship flickered as the energy readings on the monitors shot into chaotic, uncharted territory. He slammed his fist against the console. No, this can't be! Commander!" One of the officers cried out. "The entire fleet's power is dropping. All communication channels are down. We're blind. What is this weapon?" Vex's breath caught in his throat. As his mind raced, the human warship hadn't just fired a weapon. It had done something far worse. They hadn't destroyed the fleet. They had disabled the stars themselves. The energy used to power the alien ships drained. Their connection to the very power of the universe cut off. It was as if everything had been sucked into a black hole, and they were left helpless, adrift in an empty void. In the moments of freezing silence that followed, Urvek could hear nothing but the frantic whispers of his officers. His once ironclad confidence began to crumble. What did they do to us? He whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. His voice was shaking now, the weight of his overconfidence sinking in. The humans had done the unthinkable. They had turned the entire battlefield into a weapon, using the stars themselves as the ammunition. For the first time in his life, Urvek felt powerless. The cold grip of fear crept up his spine, and his mind struggled to grasp the full extent of the human warship's capabilities. They weren't just fighting for survival. They had turned the galaxy itself against him. His arrogance, his belief in the overwhelming might of his fleet, was now his greatest enemy. "What is the status of the human ship?" Urvek demanded, trying to regain some semblance of control. Varesh stared at her console in disbelief. "It's still there, Commander. Its engines are still functioning, albeit at minimal power. But the rest of the fleet, we can't see anything. We have no connection to our systems. We're flying blind." Urvek slammed his fist down again, his mind spinning. How could this be happening? The humans had used technology so simple, so primitive. Yet it was so effective, so devastating. The fear began to sink in. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a war for dominance, a war they hadn't even begun to understand. The humans had taken a leap beyond them, and Urvek realized with a chilling clarity that this battle, this war, had only just begun. His eyes fell once again on the human warship, still floating in the emptiness of space, as if daring them to strike. The stars had been snuffed out, and in their place there was only one chilling thought that filled his mind. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. The chaos on the bridge of Urvek's flagship was palpable. Officers shouted across the room, scrambling to make sense of the unthinkable. Their once unbeaten fleet was now blind, trapped in the dark void of a universe without stars. The hum of the engines, the very heartbeat of the fleet, had faltered, as if the power of the galaxy itself had been drained away. Urvek's mind raced. He couldn't understand it. His ships were technologically superior, their weapons unmatched. Yet here he was, standing in the heart of his flagship, paralyzed by an enemy who had no reason to be this capable. The human warship, still a speck in the distance, had done this. It was responsible for the calamity they now faced. What happened to the stars? Varesh's voice was a sharp tremor. What have they done to our fleet? Urvek's gaze was fixed on the monitor in front of him, watching the dead blackness stretch across the screen, where once there had been light. The humans had somehow disabled the very energy that powered their ships, stealing the strength from the stars themselves. His eyes narrowed. This wasn't just a weapon, this was a message. "Commander, we have no visual on the human ship." One of the officers began, his voice interrupted by a loud beep. "Check again," Urvek snapped. "I want a direct visual feed, now!" The officer complied, his hands flying across the controls as he pulled up the coordinates once more. The human warship was still there. Its outline shimmered faintly in the dark, barely visible through the faint glow of distant stars. But Urvek noticed something. There were no weapons charging, no immediate signs of defense. The humans weren't attacking. They were waiting, watching. "Is it possible they have disabled our systems, but left theirs intact?" Varesh asked, her tone turning more contemplative as she tried to make sense of the madness around them. "Impossible," Urvek muttered. "We've never seen anything like this before. They can't have done this alone. There must be something else." There had to be more to it. The humans were primitive. Their technology was crude by their standards, but they had shown an ability to weaponize things that defied all logic. Something was wrong, and he couldn't understand it. His arrogance, his belief that he was invincible, had blinded him. "Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the human ship," another officer called out, his voice trembling. Vex's heart skipped a beat. "What are they saying?" The officer looked up, wide-eyed. "It's a broadcast to the entire fleet. They're not just speaking to us." Vex felt his pulse quicken. "Patch it through." A crackling noise filled the command center, followed by the voice of the human captain, the same man who had sent the defiant transmission earlier. "This is Captain Lyle of the UWS Liberty," the captain's voice echoed through the room, calm and resolute. "To the alien fleet surrounding us, I hope you are enjoying the view, because what you see now, what you have in front of you, will be the last sight you ever see." Vex's face hardened. The human dared to speak with such confidence, even as his fleet lay broken, surrounded by superior forces. "We've disabled your fleet, Vex. Not just your ships, but your ability to see, to fight, to exist in the same space we do," the captain continued, his voice flat, almost bored. "You may think we're weak. You may think your numbers will win the day, but you've been warned. If you think you can conquer us, you are gravely mistaken." The words struck Vex like a physical blow. "You've disabled us?" he said under his breath. "No, this is impossible." But as the transmission ended, the human ship began to glow brighter. A faint shimmer of light emanated from it, as though it were feeding off the very fabric of space itself. Vex's eyes widened in horror as a new wave of energy surged from the human vessel, spiraling outward like a shockwave of power that extended across the black void. Are they feeding on the energy?" one officer whispered in disbelief. Vex's stomach dropped as he realized the implications of what he was seeing. The human ship wasn't just draining energy from the stars, it was harnessing the very space around it, pulling power from the fabric of reality itself. His fleet had been caught in a trap set by an enemy who knew exactly what they were doing. "Commander, we are receiving another transmission," Vex said, her voice laced with disbelief. "From the human ship?" Vex's voice was hoarse, filled with rising panic. "No," Vex replied quietly, From everywhere." The monitors flashed to life, and across the screen, Vex saw thousands of signals, each one a human vessel, each one flickering into existence. More than just the UWS Liberty, more than just the fleet he had underestimated, Earth's true military had now revealed itself, and the alien fleet was surrounded. They had been outplayed at every level. "We gave you a chance," the voice of Captain Lyle echoed, now amplified across every communication channel. "Now you will see the true power of humanity." Vex's mind reeled. His hands gripped the control panel, knuckles white, as he stared at the impossible sight in front of him. The human warship had disabled their entire fleet with a single move, and now it seemed to have an army at its back, hidden away, waiting for this very moment. "Commander," Vex said, breaking the silence, "we are completely cut off. All communication with our reinforcements has been severed. Our ships are useless. If they wanted to, they could wipe us out now. They've already won." Vex stood motionless, his face pale as the realization of their situation sank in. The human warship had not only disabled them, they had destroyed their ability to fight back. The cold, calculated precision of the humans' actions had crippled the alien fleet, and now they were powerless. In that moment, the dread that had been growing in Vex's chest turned into something even worse, despair. The very essence of his power, his authority, had crumbled in the face of a force he could not comprehend. And all at once, as the human fleet began to close in, he understood. The true battle had just begun. And this time, the humans had control. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't. Vex stood at the helm of his flagship, his face pale as the human fleet's power surged outward like a tidal wave. The energy readings were off the charts. the systems struggling to recalibrate as waves of electromagnetic force cascaded from the human warships, sweeping through space like a storm. His fleet was caught in the chaos, ships spinning out of control, weapons malfunctioning, and communications completely dead. "Commander, they're activating another pulse," Varesh shouted, her voice breaking through the growing panic on the bridge. "We're losing stability. If we don't regain control now, we'll be sitting ducks." Urvek's mind raced. He was a seasoned commander, a tactician who had led his people to victory over countless species. But the humans, no, they weren't supposed to be like this. Their fleet was tiny, their ships archaic by alien standards, and yet they had done the impossible. They had disabled his entire fleet without a single shot fired. He slammed his fist against the console. "What are they doing? How are they doing this?" His voice was a raw rasp, a far cry from the confident tone he once held. Varesh glanced at the screen, her eyes widening. "They're siphoning power from the stars again, Commander, but this time they're using it against us. All the energy in this system is being turned into a weapon." Urvek finished, his voice hollow. He had no words to explain the overwhelming sense of dread crawling up his spine. They're turning the fabric of space itself into their weapon. The human fleet wasn't just attacking. It was rewriting the rules of war, bending the very laws of physics to their will. The waves of energy pulsing outward from their ships weren't just neutralizing his fleet, they were erasing the alien technologies' ability to function at all. Their weapons, their shields, their engines, all of it was gone, ripped away by the human weapon that bent the very structure of the universe. "How long before we lose it all?" Urvek asked, his breath shallow. Varesh didn't answer immediately. Her fingers flew over her controls, desperation in her movements. "We already have. The remaining ships are disintegrating. The human fleet is advancing, and we have no way to stop them. They're in control now, Commander." A cold, sick feeling gripped Urvek's chest as he realized the truth. The aliens had been underestimating Earth for far too long. They had thought the humans weak, insignificant, primitive. They were wrong, terribly wrong. From the corner of his eye, Urvek saw something flicker on the screens. A human ship moving closer, its sleek frame silhouetted against the endless darkness. It was the Liberty, the same warship that had stood its ground in the day, center of the battle. The ship glowed with an eerie light, its energy feeding off the void they had created. It was a symbol of human power, a reminder that everything they had taken for granted was now slipping through their fingers. "Commander," Varesh said softly, "the human captain is broadcasting again." Urvek turned toward her, his face grim. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and there was Captain Lyle once again, calm, almost serene in the face of their impending doom. "We warned you." Lyle's voice echoed across the bridge. "This is what happens when you underestimate humanity. This isn't about survival anymore. This is about power. The power to reclaim our place in the universe. The power to destroy those who think they are invincible. And now, Urvek, now it's over." Urvek's fists clenched, his entire body rigid with the crushing weight of defeat. "What do you want from us?" he spat, the words tasting like ash in his mouth. Lyle's gaze never wavered. "Your surrender. Commander, leave our space. Never return. That is all we ask." Urvek's heart pounded in his chest as he watched the human fleet close in, each ship a harbinger of their inevitable end. He had no choice. The battle was lost. His empire, his fleet, everything he had worked for, gone. He was nothing more than a cornered animal now, faced with a species he had never taken seriously. "Commander, what are your orders?" Varesh asked quietly, her voice barely audible over the hum of the failing. "Systems," Urvek turned, his eyes meeting hers one final time. His voice was soft, almost resigned. Signal the fleet. We're done." As the alien fleet slowly began to retreat, Urvek knew deep down that it wasn't just his ships that were defeated. It was his entire world view. The humans had done what no other species had managed to do, take down the great alien empire, not through superior technology, but with sheer willpower, intelligence, and a technology that bent reality itself. And, in the face of this staggering reality, Urvek knew one thing for sure: the stars themselves had witnessed the fall of the alien empire, and humanity's rise was just beginning. The stars blinked back into existence, but it was too late. Urvek watched helplessly as the human warships, still glowing with the eerie light of their power, moved forward. The alien fleet was scattered, crippled, retreating into the darkness. They had nothing left to fight with. The mighty alien armada, once the scourge of the galaxy, was now nothing more than a broken shell. "Commander," Varesh's voice broke through the oppressive silence. "The fleet is withdrawing. There's nothing more we can do." Urvek felt the weight of the words settle in his chest, heavier than any weapon could ever be. They had failed. The humans, with their simple ships and primitive technology, had dismantled everything they had built. They had shattered the illusion of invincibility, and now Urvek stood at the edge of a universe that would never be the same. "We were blind," Urvek said, his voice barely a whisper. "We thought we were gods. We thought nothing could stand against us." Varesh didn't respond. She knew there was nothing to say. They had underestimated humanity, and it had cost them everything. "We're leaving," Urvek ordered, his voice firm now, resigned. "Signal the remaining ships. We head back to the outskirts of the galaxy. We regroup. We will rebuild. But Earth has shown us that the old ways are over." He stared at the empty void, where once there had been a shining array of stars. His fleet had lost everything in a single strike, defeated not by force, but by a human weapon they couldn't even comprehend. In the quiet aftermath, Urvek realized that he was no longer the conqueror. He was the conquered. And somewhere, far beyond the void, Earth's fleet was already looking toward the future. Its victory complete, its place in the galaxy secured. They thought it was mercy. It wasn't.